Do you ever feel like you get educational whiplash being a teacher? Right? Like there's so many things that we should be doing. It's this, then it's this, then it's this. Oh no, that's bad. Now you have to do this. It's just absolutely insane. And it's really hard to figure out like where to look and what to do and who to trust and what truly is going to get results. Well, I feel a little bit of that is happening right now with all of this science of reading research coming out. Now, that probably seems a little controversial, but what I mean by that is right now there are kind of two different structures of literacy that are kind of going back to back or back and forth. We've got one side where it's balanced literacy, and the other side, which is supported by the new science of reading research, is structured literacy. And so there's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of questioning, there's a lot of wants of understanding of just what is the difference? What is this new structured literacy? How is it different from balanced literacy? Why is it better than balanced literacy? So we're going to answer all of those questions for you today. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into balanced literacy versus structured literacy. So if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything new from the C. Harris Teaching Channel. We've got some really fun videos coming up. But today is about structured and balanced literacy. So I want to talk just real quick about kind of where this is stemming from, why we're doing a video on this. I get questions all the time from teachers about like how should they be structuring their reading block? How should I be using my time to get more achievement from my students? And I think, yeah, I can give you a whole format. I can arrange your timing for you, but really depends on kind of what type of philosophy do you believe in? Do you steer, or does your district steer more towards the balanced literacy approach, or are you steering more towards the new structured literacy approach? And having an answer to that question is really going to help you down the road when you're trying to figure out how to organize and structure your reading block. Both the structured literacy and balanced literacy aim to improve literary outcomes, but they take very different approaches. So by the end of this video, we're going to understand both. We're going to understand the similarities and differences and kind of why the science of reading is supporting one versus the other. So we're going to start just by giving very simple definitions. So when you think about structured literacy, I think of it as more of a systematic and explicit approach to teaching reading and spelling. In structured literacy, you're going to have very explicit and specific components. You're going to have all of the components of literacy. So you have phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. All 5 components are explicitly taught. But then you also have things like morphology and syntax and semantics and sentence structure. Like literacy has really been broken down into structural components. And that's kind of where I think they came up with the name structured literacy, right? Then on the other hand, you have balanced literacy. And so balanced literacy is an approach that aims to kind of integrate various methods, that's an important word to remember, methods of reading instruction, balancing phonics over other strategies. So your methods is kind of like the key piece here. This is where you have like guided reading, shared reading, read alouds, independent reading, phonics and word studies, you have writing. So it focuses more on really the methods behind everything rather than the true explicit teaching behind or of the literacy components. So there's kind of like the big difference between the two. Now, they do have similarities. So both structured literacy and balanced literacy value very much the importance of literacy skills. Like they both have merit. They really do. Both of them recognize the need for explicit instruction in some areas. And The goal of both of them is to produce fluent, independent readers and writers. So if you think about it that way, you're like, well, then how could I have a wrong answer? Why is it wrong to choose one over the other? Is it wrong to choose one over the other? Yes and no. I mean, the research today with the science of reading does more so support your structured literacy, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit. But there are some bigger differences than what we went through in just the definition. So let's kind of go through some of those, and hopefully some of this will kind of come together here as we keep going. So some of the differences, the big focus, or one of the biggest differences, is your instructional focus. So structured literacy emphasizes explicit and systematic teaching, especially in phonics, and those more decoding, looking at the phonology and the orthology and all of those components that build words, because it's like, starting the smallest piece and making sure the foundation of our readers are strongly built. Balanced literacy has a more holistic approach, integrating all the different various methods in hope that we're going to keep kind of a bigger picture. The problem with the bigger picture is when you're always looking at the bigger picture, it's hard to determine where really are the holes, the gaps in our learning. So structured literacy kind of looks at the entire foundation of the reader and is like, okay, they need step A, then step B, then step C, then step D in order for this reader to come together. It's like looking at the foundation of a house versus the entire house being built. So that's kind of the metaphor that I think makes more sense. Another difference is the application in the classroom itself. So structured literacy, you have sequential lessons, you have multisensory methods, and it's a lot more teacher-driven, while as balanced literacy is more student-driven. It emphasizes choice and exposure to authentic text. Now, again, that doesn't sound bad, does it? But when you're looking at trying to build a reader that needs to have all of these components, right? Reading is complex, period, exclamation mark, all capital letters, underlined and bolded, right? It is complex. So in order to ensure that we have a reader who truly can read, comprehend, connect, and analyze and evaluate and take away what the author wants them to take away and more, then they have to have all of the pieces kind of lined up in place, and they can't have gaps anywhere. So that's where the balanced literacy just kind of falls short a little bit with that. So there are benefits, of course, like I said, of each approach. So structured literacy benefits are it's very effective for students with learning disabilities and struggling readers, especially kids who have dyslexia, because it really focuses on the more concrete, word-driven approach to literacy as a whole. Structured literacy also ensures those foundational skills are firmly established, and it's based on evidence-based methods. Again, that's kind of where the science of reading is stirring up from, and it supports overall the structured literacy. Balanced literacy benefits are you have more flexibility to kind of cater more of a diverse range of students. It encourages more of a love of reading through exposure of various texts, and it helps to integrate reading and writing kind of together. So, what does the science of reading actually say about balanced and structured literacy? So let's get into that a little bit. So the emphasis on phonics and explicit instruction, especially for our early readers and those who struggle, aligns more with structured literacy. Everything that I've probably already mentioned about it, that makes sense, right? We need to make sure that we are explicitly teaching the components of literacy and that we have built this strong foundation for our early readers where they are able to decode, that they understand the phonology and the orthology and all the components to where they can then get into morphology and breaking apart words and changing them and understand how that changes meanings to words to then putting those words into a text and being able to read and comprehend them. Also, the importance of comprehension. Our end goal in all of this is for us to be able to comprehend. So the importance of comprehension and exposure to various texts supports elements of more balanced literacy. So again, it's whiplash. Like I said at the beginning, there's great things about both of them, but the current research is supporting more of a structured literacy organizational approach, I guess. Okay. So here are my recommendations for you. Consider the needs of your students, really. Some may benefit more from a more systematic approach of more structured literacy, while others may thrive in a balanced literacy environment. Look at who your students are and what their needs are. If you have a really strong community where preschool is heavily supported, and kindergarten programs are just solid and strong, and you have first, second, third graders coming to you with a solid foundation in phonics and phonemic awareness, then you may be able to do a balanced literacy approach because you don't have those types of gaps to fill in. And that's great. The other thing I would do is consider integrating elements maybe from both. While structured literacy might serve as a foundation, elements of balanced literacy can really help enrich the learning experience. So look at, okay, if I'm going to have all of my components, I'm going to explicitly teach my 5 components of literacy, but I can integrate methods behind balanced literacy. It is okay to bring in, a read aloud, an interactive read aloud to be able to explicitly teach and model certain things in the realm of the 5 components of literacy. That is perfectly fine to do. So having a nice mixture of both, I think, is a great win-win. The other thing that I would recommend is professional development and continuous learning, of course. As research continues to evolve, educators really should remain updated and willing to adapt to the changes in research. I highly recommend seeking out other areas of professional development. One recommendation would be, of course, joining the Building Comprehension Hub membership, where my members are included and have access to monthly professional development that's on demand, a growing library that they can access at any time. So if that is something that interests you, I'm going to put the link below in the See More. Click that See More button so you can see the full video description, and I'll put the link in there to the membership so you can go and read and join if you are interested. How do we wrap this all up? So the ultimate goal here is to foster independent, confident readers and writers. So by understanding both approaches, and I hope I didn't really sway you one way or the other. I tried to show you what the evidence was and kind of the benefits and differences and similarities and everything to all of it, so you can make the right choice for your students. But by understanding both approaches, educators can really make informed decisions and best support your students. And that's really what I want you to be able to do. So I hope this was helpful. If you have questions about balance versus structured literacy, please make sure to drop them in the comments below. If you have aha moments or anything else that has to do with science of reading or other science of reading questions for future videos, drop those in the comments too, and I'd be happy to add those to my list. So thanks for tuning in, and make sure to go and check out the next video. I'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.